Welcome back, guys. Fearlessdojo here, and I'm going to do a review on the first episode of Moon Knight, Disney's newest episodic TV show of their MCU universe. And I got to say, this first episode, I liked it. I didn't know if I would. I don't know anything about Moon Knight outside of a few side characters that he was in some old video games that I played. I don't really even know if Moon Knight's a good guy or like an anti-hero. Hopefully this show tells me. But I liked it. Oscar Isaac played our protagonist, and he did a really good job. I believed that his character was confused and scared at times and looking for answers, just like I was as a viewer. And the antagonist, Ethan Hawke, he didn't play a big role in this episode, but he did well in his few scenes. He didn't seem overly evil or whatever. I'm not even sure if he is evil, but he didn't come off as exaggerating his role like a lot of bad guys can. So I'm good with that. Both Oscar Isaac and Ethan Hawke, they did very well in my opinion. One of the things I enjoyed most about this episode was the way the director decided to cut the scenes. It was quick, not quite breakneck speed to where you're just going from scene to scene and you have no idea what's going on and it's just taking you out of what you're watching because it's going so fast and so much is being thrown at you one time. This is fast, but it's interesting because the character is also being thrown for a loop because he doesn't know where he's at or why he's there or where he is or when he is or what's going on, just like us as the audience. So we're actually enjoying the experience with him. There's several times in the episode to where it just cuts in mid punch, mid fight, while he's driving, all kinds of different scenarios, and then he wakes up and he doesn't know where he is. He doesn't know why he's hurt or what he did or how long it's been. He loses a few days at one part of the episode, and the audience and the protagonist are in the same boat, and I think it works that way. Some movies and TV shows try and throw a lot at you in a very short period of time to cover a lot of ground, and this does that, but in a way that I think makes sense and isn't unattractive, isn't a turnoff, it isn't a negative in my opinion. I actually enjoyed the pacing of it because you're sharing in the experience with the protagonist, and I think that's unique, and I enjoyed it. The plot, I didn't find any big plot holes or unexplainable. Well, I found a lot of unexplainables, but it's just too early to say if the plot is bad or good. There's really not a whole lot resolved in this first episode, and that's okay. Um, I'd feel more comfortable with that if it was a 10-part series. I think we're only getting 6 episodes. So this episode leaves a lot of questions and it makes you ask a lot of questions and it doesn't give you any answers at all, which I'm okay with that. But that means they have 5 solid episodes they got to make to explain Moon Knight, his origin story, why he is who he is, and what his motivations are. And they can do it. They're just going to have to come out with 5 more solid episodes. I think this was a good starter piece, and I have no problems with this episode. Another one of my favorite parts of this episode was the effects. The CGI I thought was excellent. It throws a few creatures at you that obviously you know are fake, but the way the camera work is and the lighting they use and the angles and the way they do the camera really makes it to where the CGI isn't glaring and doesn't take away from any of the scenes that these creatures are in. They do it in just a good enough way in a few scenes that the creature is the main focal point of the scene, but yet it's not focused on too much, and it's done really well, and it doesn't bring you out of the show when you see something like what this movie did, and brought you out of every scene because all the CGI was terrible. The music I thought did okay. There was all the suspenseful scenes. I thought did really well with their choices of background music. I never felt like I was being brought out of the scene because the music didn't match the pacing of what was going on in the scene. However, There is a car chasing scene that the chase itself was interesting. Nothing extraordinarily new out of chasing scenes, but the song they chose, I do not know what they were thinking. It was, in my opinion, very poor choice. It brought the whole time they're doing this chase scene. I'm supposed to be focused on the excitement of the scene and the dangers presented to the protagonist, but the whole time I'm thinking this song is not matching the pace or the intensity of this scene, and I just thought that was probably the weakest part of the whole episode, uh, which all in all says a lot about this episode. I think it was a strong start. I really do. And I don't have to tell you this, but Oscar Isaac nailed his role. Ethan Hawke, I thought, did a good job with what little they gave him. But Oscar Isaac, every scene that he was supposed to portray a scared or confused or afraid, lost person, I completely believed it. I was just as lost as he was, and I never felt like he had any answers that I didn't have. And he really brought the character to life. This episode is full of suspense, and there's even a little bit of humor, and I think that's impressive to do. And as suspenseful as they make this episode, there's actually a few jokes that made me laugh. And this isn't like Thor Ragnarok, where every other line is some really funny joke or skit or whatever, and the whole thing's comedy. By the way, one of the best Marvel movies that they've made so far. However, they do put just enough humor in this that it doesn't grind your suspenseful gears, if you will. And I think the whole time it really does. They add just enough of the comedy, not really comedy, more of a humor, I guess is a better word for it in my opinion. But they add just enough humor that it breaks up the monotony of suspense, in lack of better phrasing. So that's good. I mean, that's okay. You don't want to be, you know, afraid to your bones for 45 minutes for this main character. There are times where the main character is kind of brings you out of the suspense in the right spots, I think. And I appreciated that. All in all, I'll give this first episode a thumbs up for sure. I think it passes for me. I will not grade this episode individually. There's just not enough plot. I will wait till the end of the season to give it a grade as a whole. So come back for my next review, and I'll try and keep these spoiler free. Fearless Dojo out.